Well, billionaire Elon Musk has vowed to get rid of the trolls that pollute Twitter as part of his takeover. It can't come soon enough for Sky News Australia host Erin Molan, who suffered vile abuse online and lobbied the Australian government to make it a criminal offence. I'll speak to her live in a moment, but first, let's hear what Elon Musk had to say.
The goal that I have, should everything come to fruition with Twitter, is to have a service that is as broadly inclusive as possible. I've also vowed this publicly that we have to get rid of the bots and trolls and the scams and everything. So I'm definitely on the warpath.
Well, Erin Molan joins me now. Now, Erin, I think we both agree. We talked about this the other day, that Elon Musk is probably a breath of fresh air for Twitter, albeit with some caveats, and we'll see how he handles those caveats. But his desire to rid the kind of pollution that we see all the time on Twitter is an honourable one. But how's it actually going to work? And you can talk about this from personal experience, because you've waged this very successful and I think brilliant campaign in Australia to try and work out where that line is between acceptable and unacceptable. And before I speak to you, I'm just going to show on the screen here. These are some of the things that you've had to endure, some of the tweets that you've been sent. Absolutely, some of it just personal abuse, some of it threatening, some of it absolutely disgusting comments about your baby when you were pregnant and so on. None of this should be acceptable for a woman in a high-profile position like you. So tell me about what impact those tweets had on you and what it made you resolve to do.
Thank you so much for having me, Piers, again, and particularly on this issue. It's one I'm really passionate about. And I guess for me, initially, it was something I just accepted as being part and parcel of being in the public eye. And for those of your audience who are overseas, I hosted rugby league here in Australia for over 10 years. So it's a very high-profile sport. I'd like to say the #1 sport in the country, if not the world. It's a tough, working-class sport. And there weren't a lot of women as part of the coverage when I came in, and it created a real storm. And what really struck me initially was not that the commentary was that I didn't know what I was talking about or that I'd got things wrong. It was vile, threatening, what I looked like, the fact that I was a woman, threats against my life, which is just ridiculous. But for years and years, I just went, well, that's just part and parcel. And then one day I went, actually, no. There are upsides to my job, there are downsides, but regardless of what you do, nobody should ever be subjected to anything online that makes you fear for your life in the real world. I'm one person. When my daughter comes into it, that's when I say, okay, now we got to fight. And you know better than anyone, you pick your fights in this world. Some things you think, you know what, too hard basket, you move on. But this, for me, was about making them accountable. It was about holding people that had never been held to account. If there are no laws that punish people, if there are no consequences for their actions, they will continually do it. Now, this is a tough area. Where do you draw the line between inappropriate, between someone going online and saying I'm just a complete flog or a punish?
Well, I'll tell you where I draw the line.
Fine, by the way.
I draw the line in the same place that you did. Yeah, I draw the line in the same place that you did. You know, I put up a lot of abuse. I think abuse is just what it is. But when somebody put on one of my son's Instagram, in public, a public message, a direct threat against his life and mine, and in fact my ex-wife, his mother, I felt that crossed the line. I reported it to the police, because if this person did it in any other forum, that would be a criminal offence. And, 16 months later, it's still going through the wheels of justice. That person, I think they know who it is that posted it, but he still hasn't been charged. And I find that extraordinary that 16 months later, you can make a direct public death threat, very specific, and nothing gets done for 16 months. You've had similar. So what did you do with the Australian government to effect change?
Essentially, I just started lobbying them. And look, my dad's a senator in Australia, so I had contacts, and I make no apology at all for using the contacts that I had to try and make this world a better place, not just for me. And this is not a celebrity problem. I think that's a big thing as well. A lot of everyday Australians, Americans, Brits look at this and think, oh, but it's just, celebrities complaining about people not liking them online. That's not true at all. This is about everyday people being subjected to vile abuse. So I said to the government, we need to create something that will stop people from doing this. We need penalties. It's not about clogging up the court system. You put one person on the front page of the paper that's been sentenced to 10 years in jail for threatening to rape my 2-year-old, And that cuts out 90% of it. You've got to create consequences for these people. And as I said, our laws here are brilliant because they're akin to the criminal code. So it's essentially, it's so simple. Why we make it complex is beyond me. It's so simple. What exists in the real world should exist online.
Yeah.
It's not an imaginary space anymore. A bloke last week was in court and pled guilty. 5 years of social media harassment. He was deluded, fell in love with me, thought we were going to be in a relationship. What started online for 2-3 years then turned into in person. And that's the other thing as well. We've got to clean up this space online because a lot of these people take it from the online world and infatuation and show up at your workplace, break into your workplace.
Yeah.
So the laws here basically make it safer online without stopping free speech. And that's no mean feat.
I think that's the key, isn't it? It's about where is the line. There is a line. You know, free speech doesn't mean you have the right to say you're going to rape someone's 2-year-old daughter or make death threats against people in a public
look
forum.
at Kim Kardashian. You were just talking about... You're just talking about Kim Kardashian. I thought her comments about losing weight, the fact that she cried because a dress didn't fit, she wore sauna suits twice a day, I think those are appalling comments. Yeah. Do I think she should be stopped from saying them? Absolutely not. Do I think I have the right to publicly reply? Absolutely.
No, but you shouldn't
Do we
have
use
to,
that as an opportunity to say to our kids,
you shouldn't
that
have to
stuff
put
doesn't
up,
matter?
Yeah, but you shouldn't have to put up with death threats or threats against your child. I shouldn't have to put up with that, nor should anybody. It doesn't matter if you're well-known or not well-known. So there is a line, and I want this show to work out where that line is. Because there is a line, and the line to me on social media should be the same line that there is in the real world, like you said. Erin, great to talk to you. Thank you very much for joining me.
And Piers, I once sung on national TV and they said I sounded like a cat in a blender. So if you ask me to sing Happy Birthday, Mr. President, I
You know
shan't
what? I think I've heard you singing before. I'm going to spare me and my viewers the pain.
You have.
Thanks, Erin.